In this dimension, like basically what he's doing, he's working in a jail, and his entire family is locked up in the same prison that he works in, just for whatever. They didn't really. They're nice people. They didn't really do anything wrong, but they're all locked up in jail for paperwork or something. And I don't think he's too happy about that. I think he wants to close the prisons. So we're gonna have to do that. I met one Robin Williams in this dimension. It was really nice. He gave me that look. Rodney Dangerfield. Rodney Dangerfield I met in this dimension. He's awesome. When I was seeing Rodney Dangerfield on the movies, meeting him in person, he's, I mean, there's no comparison. He's just an awesome, and I believe he became an angel. And John Malkovich, I believe he became an angel and he became an extraterrestrial. John Malkovich, and it was very, very nice to see him. And John Malkovich, extremely intelligent angel too, and magical powers, superpowers. And Minnie Driver, but Minnie Driver didn't want to talk to me. So, but hopefully, in another dimension, she'll want to have a conversation with me. That'd be nice. And then I met, actually here, I have two, but I believe I met 3 John Lennons, 2 males and 1 female. And then I also projected my consciousness to another dimension, and I met John Lennon there. And John Lennon indicated to me that he wants a revolution. So hopefully I can oblige that too. James Garner. I met James Garner. He was, I was in a public place, I'm not going to mention where, and I see this guy, and he's just kind of staring at me, kind of giving me a dirty look a little bit. And then, and so he's staring at me, so I stared back at him, thinking, okay, well, why are you staring at me? And I didn't recognize him. And then his face shapeshifts into Jim Gardner and shapeshifts back. And that was awesome to see. And I've probably witnessed 1,000 people do that. But at higher levels of consciousness, you gain the ability. If you activate your superpowers, then shapeshifting is one of them, and that's what you get to do. And that's what hopefully we're all going to get to do. And Sarah Palin, as I mentioned before, Alex Jones. Alex Jones from Infowars.com. I never met him in the last dimension, but I met him in this dimension, and he knows everybody. He knows all the angels. He knows all the sorcerers. He knows all the Kachinas. He knows everybody. But I believe he's an angel. And it was really nice to see Alex Jones. And hopefully I'll do and whatever Alex Jones needs from me, Alex Jones will get from me. And I would like to specifically say thank you very much, Alex Jones, for everything. And also, I'll just like to repeat it again. When I'm saying thank you to one being, I'm saying thank you to that entire strain of consciousness. So I'm including everybody. But actually, we all end up merging into one anyway. And then Jodie Foster. I met a bunch of Jodie Fosters, and she's the one that made me realize that we're living in a matrix, and it was just spectacular seeing her. She doesn't like when I drink beer, though, I could tell you that much. Louis Armstrong, the man who sang "What a Wonderful World." I met him, and he looks the same, but only he's white. He in the last dimension he was a black guy, and in this dimension I met him and he's a white guy. But he still does entertaining. Really nice guy, very talented, still a great singer. Bob Marley, I met 2 Bob Marleys, and it was really nice meeting Bob Marley. I want to hang out with all these people more. Don Knotts, I met Um, I met Don Knotts here. When I was working for the Department of Correction in Connecticut, when I was working as a correction officer, I had it was Captain Sinkowitz and Lieutenant Sosa were my supervisors, and they both came back, and they're still both in law enforcement. So, but they're both still here. And when I was in the Army Reserve, my Drill Sergeant Potts, he's here in this dimension. Greg Hall from the last dimension, he was more friends with my friends, and I didn't really know him, but he really came over the top. Thank you so much, Greg Hall, for everything. And just incredible stuff. And then when I went to school for auto mechanics, I had an instructor, Azam Rahamat. And Azam is here, and he's actually becoming a physiologist. So basically, he's a mechanic and a machinist, a master mechanic. Probably one of the best mechanics I've ever known. You know, knows how to do everything. But now he's just doing the same thing, but only for human bodies. Red Sharp. When I first got into line work, Red was my first lineman, and he really took me under his wing and did a lot to help me. And then I met 3 Red Sharps in this dimension, and then I also actually I predicted. I'm just going to share this experience because this experience I never had an experience like it, but I was praying to Red because I figured that he would have the answer to one of the questions that I had. So I just prayed to him, and then in meditation he came out, and basically he came out from the furthest reaches of the universe and was pushing galaxies out of the way to get to me. And then when he finally got to me, his head was exactly, or not exactly like it was, but looked very similar to how his head and his face looked like in physical reality. And each one, I mean, his head was so big, each one of his eyeballs was as big as a house, was as big as a 2-story house, each one of his eyeballs. And when I asked the question, he gave me the answer, and then I kind of started to argue the point. I said, yeah, but, and then he just interrupted me and he said, you wanted the bottom line, didn't you? And then I said, yeah, and he hammered that point home, and then took off. And when he took off, it was his head, his neck, and his body looked like a huge tornado. And the tornado was probably literally 10 miles wide. And I never had an experience like this before. It was just incredible. But when I called Red came and he pushed galaxies out of the way to get to me, and it was incredible. And I want to thank you, Red, very much for everything you've ever done. And then Dan Sharp, I met Dan Sharp and he became an angel. And then Dan Sharp also became part of a very unique extraterrestrial race that I don't know what race it is. And I would love to know more about it. But I think it's the Prime Directive is what's stopping people from telling me about these things. But Dan Sharp thank you so much, Dan. It was really, and then Jennifer Sharp, I met 2 Jennifers, and one Jennifer is German, and then another Jennifer came out of nowhere, and she was an angel, obviously. But Jennifer Sharp became a beautiful angel. And then Kirby Wilkinson became an angel, but I don't think he realizes it. But he did. Well, at least that's my take on it. He's an angel to me. Then the Bates brothers, Peter Abrahamson. Pete came out and really hooked me up. pretty much everybody from the IBW. And I mean, I could list off everybody from the IBW, and just about everybody came here. Pete Lewis definitely became an angel. Frank Risley became an angel. Rodney Shirich became one became a sorcerer, and one became an angel, and I believe another version of became extraterrestrial. But I believe that Rodney Shirich and my psychologist Richard Lockheed, you guys merged into one. And then Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson became a spectacular angel. I mean, just done so much for me to help me and expand my consciousness. And he's got serious superpowers and very likable, really intelligent, just spectacular. And then Jimmy Jam and my friend Rick merged together. And then two of my ex-girlfriends merged together, and Jimmy Jam and Rick and Charlene and Lucy were actually, so that's 4 beings that merged into 2, and they're dating. And I met them in the physical, and they're spectacular. And then Joe Rubino, all the Rubino brothers came. Lee Poggy. Lee was really a spectacular friend and apprentice, and still is.